My name is Oral Ofori. Thanks for joining me on my award-winning show, The African Dream. That's my photo inset to the top left corner of your screen. Join me as I catch up with Juliet Asante, who you see walking on the streets of New York, to chat about the role of women in moving Africa forward, the African movie industry, and telling the African story through the power of film. She will also talk about her award-winning movie titled Silver Rain, a film festival she started in Ghana called the Black Star International Film Festival, and more. I recorded this interview on the sidelines of the 2017 United Nations General Assembly. So, sit back, relax, and listen to Juliet Asante tell me her story while I share them with you.
Well, so I'm in downtown New York, Manhattan, few blocks away from Columbus Circle. The UN General Assembly has been going on, and I was here to attend a conference, and I'm having fun afterwards, hanging out with friends. I got invited to a conference that was happening as part of the events happening this week. An African-based conference. It was great. It hosted a number of first ladies from around the world, but with a focus on Africa. So it was great to be a part of that event and listen to some of the things that are going on around the continent and the solutions that are out there. It was good to explore that. What was the significant thing with this conference? Well, for me, Africa has come a long way. And there are different solutions coming out on the table. And it's good to listen to what other African countries are doing. And most importantly, what the first ladies are doing. Because, the first ladies around the continent, I think not so much light has been placed on their activities, but they hold the key, or part of the key, to what is going on the continent, because the women are a significant part of every African community. And in speaking for Ghana, and even going back to our traditional setting, the woman has a big voice in that. I mean, in some communities in Africa, even in the traditional areas, the woman is the kingmaker. And so the man is the king, but the woman is the kingmaker. And I think you can extract that into modern day governance and say that the women are the kingmakers. And in most communities, women are over 50%, form over 50% of the society. And so it's important to listen to the role that women are playing, because I think that they hold the keys, or on another level, to try and influence the thought process, to look more into how women can contribute to their various communities. And so for me, the significance was on various levels, and I think I took away from that. And another level is the networking. There was a lot of networking, and I think that to tap into that was great. It's an interesting point that you raise when you talk about using this opportunity as a way to change the narrative, because actually one of the things that myself and my team have been speaking about for over a week now, I would say a week to a month, is how to use film as a tool to change the narrative for women. And so for me, the question that you ask about using opportunities like this as ways of changing the narrative really falls directly into what we are seeking to do. Film is such a powerful tool. It's a tool for social impact. It's a tool for networking, is a tool for cultural diplomacy, is a tool for creating jobs, is a tool for attracting investment, skills transfer, all of the things that we are trying to do. And when you come from a society where you have so many young people that are looking for outlets, and for me, where I sit, I see this as an opportunity that can be used, and I think it's not being used as effectively as we can. And so I take every opportunity, one, to communicate the power of film and how we can use it as a tool to tell our own stories. How is the African story being told? Who is telling the African story? And In Ghana, we have a very interesting proverb that says that until the animal learns to tell its story in the forest or something like that, the hunter will always be king. Because the hunter goes out there and comes back and tells your story. Who knows the battle that the hunter went through? But the hunter will come back and say that I won the battle hands down. And so if you look at it from that direction, then you begin to think that until Africans get to the point where we begin to tell our own stories, we are not going to have a breakthrough. Another way to look at it is we have amazing stories that the world is looking to hear. We bring something different to the table, and we need to get to the point where we are confident in ourselves and understand that we have a story to tell and that the world is ready to hear that story. And for me as a filmmaker, I find myself in that intersection, and I'm continuously asking myself, how can I use my platform as a tool to help tell the African narrative as well as to change the African narrative? So I run the Black Star International Film Festival. One of the reasons why I started that festival is just to help create a platform through which the world can engage with Africa, to engage with African cinema, as well as a platform that just connects people from all over the world. This year we had over 40 countries participate. We also started something we call the Ya Santua UNDP Award. The purpose of that award is to try and encourage filmmakers to use your craft to highlight the SDGs. And I mean, as a lot of African communities have moved forward and have recommitted to the SDGs. Actually, during this week, our president actually recommitted or reiterated his commitment to enforcing the SDGs. And so for me, I see the platform as a platform, one, that is creating a bridge between Ghana and the rest of the world, as well as Africa and the rest of the world. It's also a platform where people begin to understand and appreciate the African story. This year, for instance, we had some great African stories that, you know, were part of the festival. At the same time, we got the opportunity to attract the rest of the world to come into Ghana, to come to Africa and engage with Africans. And I think that, again, we have to get to the point where we create the platform where the world can engage with us on an equal playing field. And I think if there's one role that the Black Star International Film Festival is playing, it is that. And I think that already we are on the path to helping sell the story of Africa. There's an interesting saying in film that says show and don't tell. So if there's anything you can show, don't tell. I'm not in the business as a filmmaker to tell. What I'm in the business to do is to show. And so when I use my story every single time, or I use my platform to show the beautiful things in Africa, I think that that work is what I'm doing. And so I don't need to go and tell the Western filmmaker to change their stereotypes. I need to show the world that there's a different side to the story. And I think that's what I am doing. And that's what we are also encouraging filmmakers to do. Africa has such amazing stories. Until we get to the point where we can show people that, listen, you need to engage with this, and you need to engage with it from a different perspective. And that is what we are doing, using our platform to help show the world that, listen, there's so much to Africa that you don't know. And maybe the story is being told from an angle that has various perspectives, not representative of the African perspective. And so to include the African in that perspective, I think that's what we need to do. As a filmmaker, the significance of the power we hold is not lost on me. The significance, when I say significance, what I mean is that the struggle that we have is a mind struggle. It's a struggle on perception. It's a struggle on where we are going as a people and where we are going as a continent. It's a struggle of engagement. And until we get to that point where we recognize the power of the tool that we hold, we are going nowhere. And so for me, another gap that we faced so far is the fact that we haven't had the platform where we have such dialogue. One, and two, we haven't had the platform where we can invite the world to engage with us on an even playing field. And so we are always transcending continents and going places, and we don't have a voice. And I see my role as someone who can facilitate that conversation, really. At the festival, that's what we aim to do, to facilitate a conversation. We are not in the business of telling the world what the conversation should be. But when we facilitate a conversation, I think people have ways of arriving at the same place where we want people to arrive at. And I think that's what we are being successful in. Once you understand the power that you hold, then you know how you can use that power. And then you also understand that in using that power, this is not a fight. And it's not a fight to put anyone down. It's just a fight to tell people that, listen, we have something to offer, and that you should begin to engage with that from a different perspective. And I think that's what we are doing.
Do you know the signal this sends? This says we are divided camp. District elections are coming up in a couple of months.
So this is the only time you really lose control, and you are always so, you are so pissed. You have to take everything out. Your feet is going to be dirty, your armpit is going to be sweaty. Yeah.
Darken your skin and the teeth and a darker foundation of your tone, and also you are going to have this little scar about your left eye. And also with your hands and arms, I'll work with them to make it look darker and more fair.
action when you respond. If you sing the song,
So, Silver Rain for me was a very interesting journey. Interesting journey because it was inspired by a true story. A couple of years back, I met this girl. I mean, the story is about, you know, a girl in the markets of Ghana or Accra who decides that she's changing her position in life and how society fights that. For me, it was a journey. It was a self-discovery journey as well for me as an individual, and it was also a journey to tell the African story from the perspective of an African. One of the things I set out to do with Silver Rain as well is to you know, achieve two things. One, to show the world beautiful stories. Silver Rain kind of is like a African Cinderella story, and so to show the world that, listen, this is a part of Africa, this is a part you can engage with. Silver Rain was a Pan-African film. So it featured people from Ghana, South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Sierra Leone. And so it showed that we could come together to make magic happen. On the other side of it as well, people kind of from Africa kind of think that to be able to penetrate, you need to tell the Western story. And for me, that was one of the goals as well, to tell or to show people that, listen, the world is ready for who we are. And you can actually really have a breakthrough when you come to the table with a fresh voice, with something that the world doesn't know about. And I think that's one of the things that Silver Rain achieved. The kind of distribution we got nominated for the best film in Africa. The strides that the film made, I think now we're on Amazon, and the strides that the film made, I think, was proof that, first of all, the world is ready for us. We have a unique and fresh voice, and when we bring that to the table, then magic can happen. And I think that Silver Rain, in many, many ways, achieved that. The African dream for me is the point where the African realizes his place in the human dynamic. I think that for a very long time as Africans, we have been following a narrative that is not our narrative. We've been accepting the world's definition of who we are as a people. And we need to get to a point as Africans where we understand the power that we hold, where we understand that we have a responsibility to show the world and let the world appreciate who we are as a people. We have a responsibility as Africans to empower our next generation. The African dream for me is an African who understands his place in the global community, and I hope that everything I do, including the film festival, kind of helps the narrative where the African becomes confident enough in him and herself and understand that we have a role to play in the global dynamic and own that role. Is there anything I want to put out there that I feel the world should know? If there's anything I want to put out there, it is to put out there that there's a change happening. That change might be slow, but it is happening. And people should get out of their comfort zones and understand that the African person and the African narrative has been put across for many, many centuries in a way that is not reflective of the true situation. And so on one hand, I'm hoping that the world would understand the role and who we are as a people. But most importantly, before you can sell yourself, you need to understand who you are. And so my message mainly is to Africans and to people of African descent, that it's time that we began to engage with our continent and with our people from a different level and a different perspective. And so I'll use this opportunity to maybe invite Africans and people of African descent to begin to connect more with the continent and maybe pay a visit. I'm from Ghana, and so I would invite people to pay Ghana a visit. Come and see what you can contribute. Come home. That is what I say. Engage with home. And with everybody else who's not an African, I say that, hey, there's no better place than you can be. I mean, you want something fascinating, you want a great story, come to Africa.
Thanks for watching. This is the voice of Oral Ofori. Now let's go out into the streets of Manhattan in New York with Juliet and have some fun. Enjoy the rest of your day, and remember, share this video. Thank you. We're here in New York with Juliet Asante, and she's chilling.
I'm chilling. Hey, I mean, UN Assembly Week, whatever. And myself and the African Dream, we are in downtown Manhattan. And this is where? This is like streets away from Columbus Circle.
Right.
And we just had a fascinating interview. And the Dream is here interviewing everyone and making sure that everything happens. And I am here just contributing to his dream and our dream, and so anyway, we are representing, and we had a great interview, right?
Juliet is amazing. She's like awesome. You should look her up. Check out her website, read up on her. She's done some amazing work in movies, filmmaking, production, and she's just awesome behind the scene. And let's keep the African dream alive.
Yeah, and check out, before you say yay, hey guys, check out Black Star International Film Festival, BSIFF.org. Yeah, hey.
Can I say my yay,
Yeah, you can say your yay now.
Yay.
Yay.